Hello and welcome to Mental Health and Sports. My name is Hannah Tirrell and today we are going to be focusing on time management and sports. So today my guest speakers are Mary Klein, a junior at Abington High School. She plays lacrosse and basketball varsity, and Mr. Cutter, an English teacher and the JV volleyball and ultimate frisbee coach. Welcome to the show.
Thanks for having us.
I'm glad to have you guys here. So first, I'm going to start off and ask you both, how do you feel about managing your responsibilities as a coach and teacher with your sports teams? And Mary, you're schoolwork. Mary is class president. And how do you feel about managing all that between your sports?
So I think time management is a huge thing that I have to constantly fix and schedule. My main thing is just making lists and just doing things one by one, because I know it's a lot of stuff to do, but if you just take it piece by piece, and it just becomes easier and easier once you just
no, that's a good strategy to fix that and organize your things to do.
Yeah, I've been struggling with time management my whole life. I'm not somebody who is organized. So being a teacher, being a coach, I'm also still a student. I'm getting my master's at Bridgewater State. So juggling all of those things is difficult. And I've found, especially with my homework for school, not grading papers and all that stuff, because I can get a lot of that done here, but going home and writing papers for my own classes, like Mary said, breaking it up into smaller chunks and trying to do a little bit every day is always a lot more manageable than trying to do it all last minute. Because when you think about it, during your day, even if you have practice, even if you have work, there's always 15 minutes where you might be able to write a paragraph or do something.
Yeah, and that's a great thing to point out, that getting things done little by little is a great way to cope with the stress and stuff. So, Mr. Cutter, you specifically, as a teacher, knowing that kids go from school to practice to work and have all these clubs and different activities, how do you accommodate that, knowing kids have these busy schedules?
So, for me, when I'm assigning independent work to my students, be it an essay or a project or whatever, I try to give them what I think is enough time and then more. So if I think they can do it in a week, I give them a week and 3 days, right? And giving them enough time to do one big project, I feel allows them to break it into smaller chunks. There are always gonna be those kids that wait till the end, but I don't like to give one homework assignment a night that's due the next day, because then that's how kids get stressed, that's how kids' mental health starts to break down, and then when that happens, they stop learning.
Yeah.
So that's what I try to avoid.
And I like that. As a student, I know, I have an essay going right now. We've had a week to work on in class. Mary's in my class. We've had a week to work on in class, some time out of class, and it's good to have that extra time, because sometimes I do. Tonight, I'm going from this to practice to work, and I'm gonna have to go home and do homework after. It's just becomes a lot to be just an athlete, but it's something we love to do, and that's another thing we can't take away from it. And I've realized that as I've gone through my journey trying to balance things, that just knowing I love my sport, and using my sport as a way to cope is a great way to balance things. So Mary, as someone on a team, how do you support your teammates, knowing they have these things, and knowing sometimes people are going to have harder days and you can't perform as well on some days when after this game I'm going to have to go home and do all this other stuff?
I like how you said we use our sport to cope, because I definitely relate to that. Coping with my sport, I take out all my stress, all my anger, everything like that. I know that a lot of us are going through the same thing, and that's why it's really good to just have a conversation with someone like you or someone on my team just about sports, and kind of talking to them and using them as therapy, and just use your sport as therapy, and just take out all your stress with your sport. Yeah.
And that's one of the main things with sports. It's a great way to just get your mind off everything else, and just even though it is stressful sometimes, because sometimes the sport does get stressful, you wake up late because you were doing homework, and then you're a little late to that practice in the morning, and then everyone has to run, but it's you find it as a way to just relax and get your mind off things. So thinking about that, as the busy schedule and sleeping, many students go from school to work to homework, basically, practice, whatever, and then we're staying up late, we're tired in the morning, then we can't perform as well in school, and then have to do more work the next night and get even more tired, and it turns into this vicious cycle of just getting more and more tired. And for the both of you, as a student too, Mr. Cutter, how do you think you deal with that, and like how do you prioritize your things?
I think you definitely have to prioritize your mental health over like a lot of things, like getting a good night's sleep at night, like eating the right foods, like taking care of your body at the same time and your mind. Sometimes you can't always like meet those deadlines, like you have to give yourself a break at the same time. Like making sure like you're sleeping is definitely one of the things that helps me, because I know that I won't get through the next day if I'm not having a good night's sleep. So sleep is definitely something I like prioritize.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, as soon as you start to feel burnt out, I always try to tell myself, like, you can never be, what was the word I was thinking of? Nothing can ever be perfect, right?
Yeah.
So like, if you're stressing about an assignment, or if you've got a lot of stuff to do, sometimes it's okay to just cut a corner, right? It's not a bad thing, and we need to stop beating ourselves up over it, especially when we're starting to feel burnt out, because there's no point in burning yourself out over one single grade or one single project. You got to look at the bigger picture, and your mental health is part of that picture too.
Yeah, and I love that you mentioned that, because like the whole burning yourself out thing, I feel like as athletes we're just like control.
Machines.
We're just machines to like, and we're just like apt to like push ourselves past and have these huge expectations for ourselves. Like I have to perform. I didn't do well here. Like I have to push myself. Our lives are like school, perform, and succeed. And when we don't do that, it translates to our schoolwork, and that's another tough thing. And like knowing that sometimes not doing everything is okay, like saying no is okay, and that's a huge thing that we have to remember as athletes and stuff. Something else I wanted to mention was like seeing your friends and like family, and I know that becomes tough. Like I've been trying to see my cousin for weeks now, and it just hasn't worked out. Like, so what's something you guys do to balance that, or like what are some difficulties you have with that?
Again, it just goes along with time management. I definitely, within like the school week, I'm just trying to get through practice, get through schoolwork, and then the weekends I usually am saving like time for, obviously I'm working in the days and stuff, but definitely like the night times and with my friends, that helps me relieve my stress. Just like spending time with my family, my dogs, my friends, just really helps me like try and like get away from all the stress, and then I focus on in the school week just like getting through the week.
Yeah. I mean, as a teacher and a coach, I recognize that free time is important. Like my weekends are important. I value my weekends, and I treat my teams the same way. Like we're not going to practice or have games on weekends unless it's absolutely necessary, because you guys need that time to meet with your friends.
And I'm very grateful for teachers like you, and we do have really great teachers at Abington High School, but just like even those extra 3 days really just helps us like space things out and like take care of other things, and it just like makes me appreciate a lot of the teachers, because they do understand most of the time.
Yeah, and just knowing we have so many people to support us, like we have coaches and teachers like you, we have Miss Reid, our athletic trainer, and just all the coaches and our captains and our teammates, like everyone's here to support us, and like knowing that we all like need to continue to love these sports that we have since our childhood, and like not let the other things that are like bringing us down distract us from that.
Yeah, it helps you keep going.
Yeah,
for sure.
Ultimately, you're playing a game. It should be fun.
Yeah.
It should be something you're passionate about. It should be something you have fun doing.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah.
So that's a wrap on our first episode of Mental Health in Sports, talking about time management. Thank you for coming, and have a great day. Hello, and welcome back to Athletes and Mental Health. Today I have Kasie Bailey and Miss Reid, our athletic trainer, to talk about injury and mental health. So to start off, I'm going to talk about my injury and how that kind of affected me. So back in last fall, when we had 4 seasons because of COVID, I had a hip injury, and that caused me out of sports for 5 months. So that was a hip avulsion fracture, and I went to physical therapy. I spent most of my days in Miss Reid's room, and it kind of affects you a lot, just watching your team play and not being able to be part of that, because I feel like sports is a big everyone together, we're all part of a team thing, and it's just like, it's hard to be missing out. Even though you're still there, it's hard to be missing out. So I think the hardest part for me was just like watching everyone continue, and I wasn't able to better myself in that way and contribute to the team in any way. And like, I'd blame myself for losses, and I know it's not my fault, but you just like do in that way. You know what I mean? Yeah.
Yeah.
Kasie, do you want to share your story?
Yeah, I hurt my knee about a year and 2 months ago, and I was playing for the Hug Foundation tournament because they needed an extra girl, so I just filled in. and I was playing left field, and my knee gave out on me, and ever since then it's been hurting and just giving out all the time. When I was playing basketball, it was giving out, and then I went to the doctors and I got an MRI, and I found out I tore my ACL and my meniscus, and I had to have ACL reconstructive surgery and medial meniscus surgery.
Yeah.
So that was my injury, and I'm out for 9 months, but you just got to stay positive through it and, you know, be there for your team.
Yeah. So what do you think was the hardest part through, like, I know you're still in it, so like, what do you think is the hardest part? And I'll come to this read in a second.
I think the hardest part is not being able to play. Seeing my teammates play, I'm so proud of all of them. They've done great this season, but I've been playing like every day in my life, and I go to softball every day, and just coming to complete stop is probably the hardest thing, and just trying to keep myself positive. And you know, my parents have been great, and my teammates, but definitely not being able to play is probably the hardest part.
Yeah. Ms. Reid, so how do you handle that as someone who deals with people like us who have injured and you can't play? Like, what is your best advice for us to like stay positive, or like what should we do?
My biggest advice is to stay connected to your teammates and stay connected to your sport. The hardest part about a long-term injury is like your loss of self, your loss of identity. You know, if you ask any student athlete, you know, name 5 things about yourself, the number one thing they're probably going to say is, you know, hi, my name is Alicia and I'm a soccer player. That athletic identity is such like the foremost part of their personality at this time. For some people, for others it's not as much, but if it is, they have a really hard time when they feel disconnected from their sport. So staying involved with your team, staying connected with your coaches, staying connected with your teammates, I've found that that's, you know, the best way to stay positive and to move forward.
Yeah, and I like how you mentioned the identity, because I feel like I connected that with myself. Like, people ask what I do, I'm like, oh, I play volleyball, I do track, like this is just who I am. Every day after school, I'm either in the gym or at the track, and it's just like your life. And when that gets taken away, it gets really hard. So the next thing I want to ask is, like, when you get these injuries, everything stops. You go from being active and exercising 6 or 7 days a week to nothing, because you can't really move in the severe cases like us. I know others are different. So how does like your diet and nutrition change, and like how do you think, like, what's your best advice for changing that? And if you've ever been injured before long term, like what's the solution for that?
Definitely bringing in more protein, fruits, veggies. I mean, you're on a couch for what? I was on the couch for 11 days and got up maybe 3 times a day. But definitely bringing in fruits and vegetables and trying to keep a good diet, because after surgery you kind of don't really want to eat that much. So I'd say cold foods were my go-to.
Definitely focusing on your recovery as much as possible. So your recovery is not only your rehab, like you said, you were going to the gym 2+ hours a day. Now you're working on doing, you know, 4 leg raises just to try to get your strength back. So protein, like Kasie said, but also focusing on your sleep, making sure that you get adequate amounts of sleep, because that's when your body heals itself. Focusing on your hydration. You're not going to think to drink as much water as you normally do because you're not up and moving around, but hydration is actually more important now while you're recovering. So focusing on that, and then, you know, trying to swap out to healthier foods. You're not burning as many calories, so, you know, instead of going for the cheeseburger, maybe try and substitute that with a salad. Not all the time, like you definitely need to enjoy what you're eating, but just being a little bit more mindful.
Yeah, I like that. And it's hard because like we go from, I probably eat Chipotle 2 or 3 times a week, when it's like, I can do that. I mean, anyone can do that, like do what you please, but it's like I am running a bunch, and it's like how your body burns that off is just so different once you completely stop. Okay. And it's just hard changing that lifestyle, and like also knowing like I'm losing that strength just a little bit, and like coming back and it not being the same, which is definitely hard. And as you're coming back right now, like how does it feel different, just maybe not having as much strength as before, or like how do you feel?
Yeah, I definitely feel weak because I haven't really been going, but I throw the ball, I try to get active as much as possible, whether it's me asking Miss Reid to play at practice a little bit. But yeah, my knee definitely feels weak, and like my calf, I've been going to physical therapy twice a week, but Definitely just getting up and doing something.
Yeah, and I like that because I remember when I hurt my hip as I was a sophomore, and everyone was like, "Oh, you're just a sophomore. You'll get stronger. You have 2 more years." But then it's like, no, I still want to be part of that, and it's just hard. And it's like even now, it sometimes still affects me. Like I'll be doing hurdles or high jump or something, and it'll still hurt a little. And it feels like even though it's gone, it like never really goes away. And you're kind of like with these awful injuries, like you sometimes live with it.
Mm-hmm. You got to keep following through with the rehab too. Even when you feel like you're back to 100%, keep working to make sure that you stay there is really important.
Yeah, and some things I found, like I remember back then when I had my injury, sometimes when I was having a sore day, like instead of going to the gym and doing a tough leg workout, I'd do some yoga, and maybe it's lighter and it's still some physical activity, but it's still something you're there. And just knowing like it is going to eventually go away and it's not the complete end of the world, even though like this is my life, like this is my identity. I only have 4 years to play here at high school, and like who knows, like we're all trying to play in college if that's like your desire, but you never know what's gonna happen. Yeah. And I think that's all I have today. So thank you for coming. And
thank you for having us.
That is all. Hello, and welcome to our 3rd and final episode of Sports and Mental Health. Today, I have Aidan O'Donnell and Mrs. Kasie to talk about performance pressure. So, hello guys, welcome to the show.
Hey.
I'm gonna first start talking about how you feel about expectations with your coach and how you meet them. So, Ms. Kasie, as a coach, how do you keep these high expectations while also keeping it in a realistic manner, knowing that like we need breaks sometimes?
I take a lot of my signals from the students. So you go in every day with a plan, much as you do as a teacher, and sometimes you can execute the plan, and sometimes you have to deviate from the plan and go to plan B, C, D, and F. And other days you have to toss the plan in the garbage and start over. So I start by taking an inventory at the beginning of practice on how everybody's feeling, what's going on. And sometimes you can learn quickly that the kids are stressed because SATs are coming up, they all have tests, or grades are closing. So those things aren't always considered as something that the kids carry onto the field, but they do. They're student athletes. They're student first, athlete second. So we can have our best intentions of having the best practice ever, but that doesn't always happen. And I think that's part of being a team, as you know when to change the plan and know when to adjust. So I'd say a lot of it comes from conversations with kids. I try to read body language as best as I can as they're coming onto the field. Like, are they excited? Are they happy? Are they moping? Does there seem to be something going on? And I have ongoing conversations with the seniors. They've been there the longest. They know me the best. And what cues can I get from them? What conversations could they have with the underclassmen that can help me better understand what's going on in their lives outside of the soccer field, that we can adjust what we have to do. And then there's other days we had to put in the hard work, and they know that. So I think being able to be flexible, you can get more out of people when we're all having a good day.
I like that, and just being able to change your plans if someone's not having a bad day, if everyone's not having a bad day, and I like that flexibility, like still setting these days where like this is where we're gonna work hard, we're gonna do these drills, we're gonna run, but then also having those fun days where maybe like you just do a couple drills at practice.
Yep.
And I like that.
Thank you.
So Aidan, how do you feel about like living up to that pressure? Because there's all high expectations from your coach, yourself, your teammates. Like as a captain on your team and your pitcher, you pitched 2 no-hitters this season, which is amazing. And just knowing like you have all these expectations on you, like how do you feel about that?
I mean, I don't really think about, the expectations. I just try to, play well enough to get the win for my team, and to not let my teammates down. I'm playing for them, they're playing for me, we're playing for each other. So it's really just a team thing. Pedro Martinez, like when he was asked like how does he deal with pressure, he said like he just throws the ball and whatever happens. I mean, you kind of just, if you feed into the pressure, that's when you'll start to feel it. But if you act like it's not happening and just do your job, then it's not really that big of a thing. You can minimize it by just playing your game.
Yeah, I like that. And just focusing on like, there's only so much me individually can do. Like I can only work so hard on the track or on my volleyball team to hit that ball as hard as I can or to throw as good as you can. And it's like, there's only so much you can do, and just not overstressing yourself, because as athletes, like this is who we are. Like I spend all my days thinking about sports. How can I get better? What can I do to improve myself? And it's just like, this is my identity. And sometimes when we're not doing as well, we kind of lose that part of ourselves. It's like, why, like, am I losing this part of myself? Should I not play anymore? But it's like just that couple days where maybe you're off a little bit and you need a break, and just like understanding that like, this is who I am, and I just have to like keep up with that. And it's hard sometimes to keep that all the time. Something I've found that is really hard for myself is giving myself a break, like knowing I'm in the gym 6 days a week, and on that one rest day, I saw something online. It was like, it's not really a rest day if you're thinking about going to the gym the whole time, if you're stressing about that. So it's like, why is that hard for me? Like, why, Aidan and Miss Kasie, even because you played sports all through college, like how do you think giving yourself a break is hard in that way?
I kind of have the opposite. I believe in a break. I think that time away from things can make your heart grow fonder. So taking a day away to like even just reflect on the week, you know, hey, Tuesday workout was rough, or Tuesday's practice didn't go so well, or Wednesday's game had some ups and downs. I think even just taking that time to reflect is beneficial. I believe in the power of rest. I believe in the power of like shutting down and doing something else. As an athlete in college, you can't go 7 days in a row. There's an NCAA rule. So we traditionally had Sundays off, and that was team dinner and team hangouts and maybe video. So it was nice to still be with the team, but in a different capacity. As an adult, I still go to the gym. I love the gym, but I do believe in days off, and I think my performance is better because of it. I also can see the light at the end of a long tunnel, being like, all right, get through the workout on Friday, and then Saturday's my rest day. And I don't often take like full rest days. I believe in a walk. I believe in some yoga, some meditation. So it's not like a horizontal on the couch rest day, but it's more of a different activity rest day. So I try to instill in the students and my student athletes like that rest is important. You need the time to heal mentally, physically, and emotionally, and try to, you know, take that and appreciate the rest when you have it. Because there are some days that, or some weeks that are just busy and exhausting. So when the rest comes, appreciate it.
Yeah, I like that. Just knowing like this is okay, and it is actually making you better. Like as I've talked to Miss Reid before when I was injured, like it's okay to rest. Like it's okay to take a day off, and even just like over exerting yourself, because it's like I feel like I have to go, but it's like take a break for a second. Yeah.
For me, I mean, like I think resting is kind of like a maturity thing. So like when you're younger, you want to, you know, go full steam ahead, and then that could lead to like injuries. But like the older you get, the more you know your body. So like, for example, like I can't throw every single day because that would be really bad, obviously. Like pitchers can't throw every day. So you have to know your body, your limits, you know, when to throw before games, like how many days in advance. Like it's kind of like a chess match. You have to strategically plan everything, and then figure out when to, like, you know, not go as hard one day or take it easy another day. Like I think it's a maturity thing, because like that's something you learn over time, and you know, rest is an awesome thing, because I also think, you know, the more you rest, if you plan it out right, you know, you play better. So I think that's like, I think rest and, you know, taking breaks is one of the most important parts, especially like in a recovery aspect. So like, if you know, play one day and then you don't rest the next day, then your body will be feeling it the rest of the week. It's not like it has a ripple effect on the rest of your, you know, how your scheduling plays out.
Yeah.
But yeah.
I like that, and just knowing like it's okay. Like sometimes we have these harder days and we can't perform to our best, and that's okay. And like sometimes like our team will lose, and like it happens. Everyone's gonna lose a game. Like there's always someone better than us. It's just like going to happen, and it's part of the whole athlete experience. I feel like if a team never loses, it's like, how do you learn in the real world? Like this sports are teaching us real life lessons, how to work with other people, how to like not get what you want in some ways, and like dealing with that is tough sometimes, and it's like you worked so hard all week long for this game on Friday and you don't do great and it happens. So as an athlete, like how do you feel about losing those games, and especially if it's a team that you're like playing down to? Like that's tough sometimes. I know for volleyball that happened to us a couple times, and it's just like it's not something we purposely do in our minds, but we just think, and it's like sometimes we let down on what we can do and our performance just when we're not doing well.
Yeah, I mean, playing down, like that happens with every team, you know. No matter, it happens every season, every team, and I think it's just like a focus type of thing. You know, it happens. You know, it happens as a team. But I think losing helps you get better, because if you go 20-0, and then you get down in a game, no matter what sport you're playing, if you get down, you might not know how to come back. If you don't have any moments of adversity throughout a season, you're not going to know. Like championship teams have the most adversity sometimes, and that's why they win the big games or win the most important games. So like, if you don't struggle as a team, you're not going to learn how to win as a team. You know what I mean? It all plays out.
Yeah, I really like that. And as a coach, like how do you deal with that moving down?
It can be difficult. I think the hardest transition for me from athlete to coach was I can only do so much. Some of my athletes on a 110-yard long field are 100 yards away from me. I cannot impact the game from that far away. And as an athlete, when you're on the field, you can make changes and adjustments. As a coach, you can make changes and adjustments, but there's only so much you can do. So for me, it was giving away some of that ownership and putting it on the players. You're the ones on the field. I try to instill with the kids as soon as you cross that white line onto the pitch, you got to let go of everything else and be there for your teammates. So I think when I was a younger coach, I took a lot more to heart, along with some coaching maturity and some time. I've learned to take that step back, and there's only so much I can do. But with that being said, we overanalyze, we overthink, and we try to over-prepare for the next thing. So why did we play this way? Was it me and I didn't prepare them? Was it a stressor that they're having in their lives and it transitioned on the field? Did we have a bad practice? Did we not practice yesterday because it was raining? So you try to get down through the notes of what happened and why, and then try to fix it going forward. And I think as long as you're making progress, recognizing what happened for whatever reason and trying to fix it going forward, then that's the best you can do.
Yeah, and that's a great point. Just knowing we're always improving in some way. Like each practice we're getting a little better, and just letting go of that pressure we all put on ourselves is really important for our minds and our bodies, and that's all what sports are about, just being happy, enjoying it, because it gets to a point where we're not enjoying this anymore because we're putting way too much pressure on ourselves. So that is a huge thing in sports. So thank you for coming. I'm so happy to have you here. And that is the last episode of Sports Performance. So first we talked about our time management, then injury, and now performance pressure. And I'm so thankful that all my guests came here. And that's a wrap. Thank you for watching.
Yeah, big time. Oh, good.